Rise, minions, and welcome to unMadeGaming. We are here, my buttons work, and we are going to be playing our Patreon campaign, The Rise. If you guys like what we do here and you want to support the channel, the best way to do that is join us over on Patreon like these fine folks that you see here before you. Link for that Patreon down below in the description. While you're down there, click on that Discord link, join us in the Discord, be a part of the community, be a part of the conversation. And as always, in the bottom right-hand corner, you will see the corruption bar. That bar serves two purposes. One is when that bar fills with tips, I get to do what the hell I want to these players. It's thus far been terrible. And two, I'll tell you what, if that bar fills today, I will find a way to bring Bro Shaden back into this episode. And two,
Don't say that. Icon's in chat.
As everyone in the game goes to donate to the bar. A whole Bro Shaden episode. And two, every single dollar that goes in that bar goes back to this channel to eventually hire me out of a job. It's fantastic. I think that's it. Yeah, this is episode 18 of The Rise, our Patreon campaign, where we have our fledgling gods. There's the first one. Okay. Previously on The Rise, after speaking with Queen Attain, the fledgling gods were told that a great danger was about to befall the city of Samora from multiple fronts. They were tasked with investigating the powerful sorcerer known as Vishaden, who appeared several years ago to see if he would be a potential ally. After treating with Vishaden, it was determined that he himself was a fledgling god and would ally himself with the queen if she formally declared him as the patron god of Samora. Jesus Christ. Yeah. So at the end of last episode, most of you met and loved Vishaden, especially Antares. And after meeting with him and hearing his demands to become the patron god of Samora, you all sort of went your separate ways. Antares, you had gone back to the Temple of the Adherents to have a talk about how to improve your general outlook and demeanor, improve your charisma. And Korax, I don't think we actually followed Korax. Korax, and I believe Korax and Mina both went back to the Adherents as well, and Seydlitz returned home. So we'll start with Korax. Korax, it's bro time. Yeah, so it is nearing the end of the day. Where did you go after leaving Vishaden?
Korax would have walked down through the road filled with where the temples were.
Mm-hmm.
And he would have just taken his time, sort of slowly meandering through the temples. If no one was with him, he would literally just pop into any of the temple that's missing a door, and just looking at all the temples, looking at the place where the gods were worshipped.
Excuse me. Yeah, so a lot of the temple district under the rule of King Jason, the previous king, Jaseth, thank you. Under the rule of King Jaseth, were actually sold. They were sold and transformed into warehousing. So a lot of this is like, not storefront, but it's like where stores hold their goods, where like, certain companies hold their goods, where trade merchants might hold their caravans, or like essentially garages. There are very few actual temples left, with the unofficial temple of Vishaden, being the most intact of them. But there are several like crumbled ruins that have like dilapidated walls, doors missing, windows shattered. That would have been too much of a pain in the ass to use as a warehouse. It would have been essentially all new construction. So yeah, you can find a number of temples that are easily enterable. So you find one, and you kind of walk through this ornate stone archway. All of the windows are shattered except for one on the back wall. Sorry, on the western facing wall. And you can see like the sun is glinting through that, sort of making a colored pattern on the floor as the only mirror left in this place. But yeah, you see a lot of rubble, detritus all over the floor, thick layer of dust. What are you doing here?
Korax is basically just thinking about the gods, things that have been said to him by not Etienne, Sulabayez, about the adherents and what their beliefs are with the new gods, etc. And he's just wandering around and just having a thought about gods, looking at what the temples are and what they were. Yeah, just lost in thought.
Okay. Are you trying to reach out to these gods again, or are you trying to reach in for these gods?
Good question, Mike.
That's
I think at
50%
some
of
point-
GMing. It's good questions.
I think if there's a point where there's the temple that he walks into, if there is still the altar that is there, even though everything else is mostly destroyed, if the altar is even partially there, he would probably stop to pray. He would stop to pray to the old gods, or to the gods, really, not necessarily the old gods, but gods that are out there, for guidance on times to come.
Okay. So we see Korax sort of knelt in reverence at a stone plinth that makes for an altar here. There's no statue of who it could have been for. There's like a small dais of where a statue would have been, but there is no statue here. Nothing adorns this temple to indicate who it might have been. But we see you kneeling in dust as you utter a prayer to gods who may or may not ever hear it, as you just sort of adjust to this new world that you live in, that you are a part of. As the camera sort of pans out down the alleyways, past disheveled buildings and warehouses, where do we see Mina?
Mina is heading back to the Temple of the Adherents to see if Stephanie is still there.
Yeah, so you enter into the temple itself. You walk across the polished floor and to the barracks style room for people who are not adherents. And you crack the door open and you see that Stephanie is there, packing up a small like satchel, and she is childless. She turns as the door opens and she says, "Oh, Mina, welcome back."
Yeah, I was just checking in. I heard the Queen is taking you and Arua in.
She is. She is. I will be a handmaiden.
That's she's also going to ensure you're protected for the future.
Yes. Yeah. I from what I understand, I will be expected to perform the duties of a handmaiden, but that is a form of my protection.
And Mina will kind of edge his way in the door and then close it behind him, and then just look at Stephanie and say, "Is that what you want?"
To be a handmaiden or to be protected?
Both.
I guess I really haven't thought about what I want since Arua was born. It's what I want matters so much less than what is best for her.
Maybe I said that wrong. Are you comfortable with that then?
I mean, it was great traveling with you all, and you were so kind, and you did everything you could to help. But I feel like if I'm not safe in the Queen's castle, then I don't know where I would be safe. It makes the most sense.
It does, but the main thing is that you think it's what's best for Aurora, and that you still have as much contact and influence over her as you can.
Well, I'll still be her mother.
Yeah, but it, don't let them form her into a tool or a weapon for them.
Oh, I wouldn't. The queen, the queen promised that she would be educated. She would be taught numbers, letters, everything. And as long as whatever deal you all made is still in play, then she'll want for nothing.
We have to protect the city. Apparently, a couple of armies are marching on the city.
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing. Hopefully, we can protect you and Arua at the same time.
Hopefully. I mean, if anyone can do it, it's you guys.
Yeah. Well, we've got some new help. Met a cool guy called Vishaden. He seems to be willing to help us.
Yeah, I heard about him. He's the one that saved the city a couple years ago.
Yeah, he's offered to help us save the city. So I guess every bit of help helps.
Yeah, I mean, I spent some time with you all, and you're all very powerful. So if you made a new powerful friend, I can't imagine it would be very difficult for you to defend it. And all the Queen's Guard and
Yeah.
and everyone here. And she sort of like motions vaguely to the adherents.
And Mina kind of winces a bit when she says the adherents, and kind of takes a step closer, and he said, in a very, very hushed tone, if you ever need us and you feel unsafe in the castle, you can either contact me or Captain Jund and use the phrase honored guest, and we'll know there's something up and we need to get you out.
Oh, okay. Um, I I hope it doesn't come to that. Um, and I would appreciate it if you would extend an invitation to Korax and Seydlitz and Terry's to come visit me once I'm settled in. The Queen said it would be allowed.
And Mina takes a step back at that and says, yeah, I'm sure everyone would come visit and check up on Arua. They were also caring on the road, so can't imagine that they'd want to just ignore Arua and yourself now that you're safe.
Fucking Chris nodding his head.
Oryx kid.
So loving. Everyone was. So, she finishes packing what little things she had into the satchel, and she takes the step closer to you, Mina, and she says, "Speaking of on the step, she says, speaking of, I must return to her. She was asleep, and I left her in the care of another one of the handmaidens. But thank you for everything you've done, Mina, and please come see us soon, and you'll see that everything's fine." And she sort of leans in and just like plants a small kiss on your cheek before she takes a step past you to head towards the door.
Mina does the Mina blush and
Patent pending.
and quickly heads over to any gear he had left in the barracks and packs that up as well.
Yeah, as you busy yourself with trying to not be awkward, you hear the door latch behind you, and you are alone in the barracks room. What are you doing now that you are alone?
Mina is packing all his gear up. He doesn't intend to stay in the barracks here. He's going to head out into the city and find the barracks where Wexy's people stay.
Okay. Yeah, it doesn't take you much. Most of your gear you wear on you, so it's very simple to pack up what small amount of clothes you do have for traveling. Your sewing kits, etc., your shield, spear, and you leave. Your footfalls echo across the temple as you make your way to the exit, echoing around. No one stops you. In fact, there's no one even in the main chamber hall as you go to exit and out into the setting sun of Samora. As you head out into the busy streets, you begin to hear the sound of music and livelihood and joviality as the evening parade has begun. Starting from one end of Avos Road, it begins to grow in a crescendo of sound as you make your way towards the district where you know Wexy's caravan guard building is, their headquarters is. And as you make your way down there, the camera pans to a small house in the residential district where we see Seydlitz. Seydlitz, what are you doing?
Probably just getting back a bit tiredly from the whole thing and just kind of walking in like, I'm home.
You immediately are, shush, shush, shush. Your sister shushes you as you walk in the house. I just got the children to sleep. And the last time you walked in here, it took hours before they went to sleep. I'm excited that you're back, but quiet. Food's on the table.
Sorry.
It's okay. You've been gone a while. It's easy to forget. How was your day? And she like sits down, and you can hear the wood scratching of her kicking the chair out in front of her to give you a place to sit.
Long, tiring, annoying. But that's just how it goes with politics and bureaucrats.
There was the official came for you. What was that about?
Do you really want the truth, or because it's probably something you wouldn't want to hear?
I mean, there's never been an official that's come to my door and requested a single member of the family by name. So I'm very curious to see why.
Is Fernand here?
He's upstairs. I can get him.
Please.
Okay. She like takes a glass of water and puts it closer to you, and you see her turn around the corner and head up the stairs. A few creaks as she goes. There's a muffled conversation, and she returns, and you can hear the heavy footfalls of Fernand behind her. And he sort of looks at the somber-ish setting here, and like glances upstairs for where the kids are quietly sleeping, looks back and forth between you and his wife, your sister, and he just sort of slowly walks down that like walk of a man who knows he's in trouble, and sits down at the table. He says, yes?
Come sit down, please.
Okay. And he sits down at the head of the table.
The official this morning was from the Queen's Court, I believe. Honestly, I didn't take a chance to actually catch his name either.
I'm sorry, the Queen requested you personally by name?
Apparently. Even I'm
Why?
confused as to why. She had a job.
For you personally?
And the people I traveled with.
Why?
Apparently, Corso is not very happy with our town, and we may have a possible war coming. And they want someone who knows the area that could fight. And they know I'm a pretty good tracker. They want me to scout for them. They want me to confirm these reports.
Why?
Didn't I just explain? Because they They heard that I know these lands, and I can track this stuff.
They have an army. They have scouts. You're no one. Why?
I
You-
can't explain
you,
why I
like-
don't read minds.
You hunt animals. In the Verge. What do you have to bring to? Don't they have scouts for that?
I would assume so, but I'm not intricate in idea of what our military comprises. Maybe they're desperate.
What does that mean? Do you work for the Queen now?
Not yet. She hasn't paid me.
Are you a member of the Queen's Guard?
No.
It sounds like you're a member of the Queen's Guard.
So you're saying I got forcibly recruited into doing so? Oh boy.
I think you said that. I'm just asking questions. Are all
I'm
your
terribly
friends
tired and can't explain.
are all your friends also recruited by the Queen?
Yes, that is true. But
Why?
can we go down to brass tacks for a sec? Because I do have something I want to say.
Please. Does it help explain anything else you just said?
No, it's a request of my own.
Okay.
Fernand,
Yeah.
if a war does come, would you take the family and leave?
All where? All of our things are yes. Yep.
Like you have a caravan of your own. Couldn't you figure it out?
Yeah, you know what? We can go to Tunabar's Holdfast.
I just don't want my family to be in danger in case something actually does happen.
Okay. But that's the whole reason that you you and your friends, you're all, and then the Queen and the all of you, that's your whole thing, is to make bad things not happen. He is just wide-eyed, glancing back and forth between you and his wife.
I could tell he's trying very poorly to hide the fact of his knowledge.
Yep. He was not recruited by the Queen.
Does
Matt.
does Seydlitz sister pick up on the fact that he's stuttering so bad?
She is locked on you. She has like tuned him out, and she is just studying you as if she were in a blind hunting some kind of deer. She is watching your every move.
Would you be okay with that, Selena, or do you want to stay?
Is there like you said?
There is a battalion or 7, I think was the number, of reconciliators from Corso marching on the city. They're waiting.
Well, Corso sends reconciliators here all the time. How is that different?
This is a number far beyond the usual.
And you think that they could take the city?
Possibly.
You think they would breach the walls?
Possibly.
Well,
I cannot know for certain what the future holds. None of us can.
this is our home. You want us to leave?
I want to ensure your safety.
Isn't that your job? Isn't that what the Queen hired you
I'm
for?
just a woodsman.
Well, now you're a member of the Queen's Guard, I think.
I never said that.
Well, the Queen knows you by name.
Doesn't mean they're gonna make me a Queen Guard member or an army member. It's just she summoned me for work. I don't know the specifics when it comes to all that. Is it all of a sudden the Queen calls you out and all of a sudden you're a member of her military?
I think so. I
Then
think
I'll be damned.
I think that's how it works. The Queen says, "Hey, I need you for military things." I think that means you are part of the military, I think.
I guess in her eyes, I'm probably just a mercenary. Expendable.
That didn't make it better.
No, it doesn't. But I just want to ensure your safety. It's not like I'm just a single man. Do you think I can protect this whole family?
Yes.
All right. I see you aren't budging on this topic.
This is our home. And she like stamps her finger on the table. And
Quiet.
it is now your job to defend the city because the Queen sought you out by name. So if you want to make sure that we're safe, and again, she like jams her finger into the table, then you do whatever the hell this job is. And you do it as best as you can. And if you can't do it, then you can tell us and we'll find a way. And she looks at she looks at her husband for the barest of seconds, and he is using every avoidance tactic in the book to not make eye contact with her. And then we'll leave.
All right. But if it comes down to it, if you even think for a second that this city will fall, I want you to go.
Fine.
All right.
Now, what can we do to help? Yes. What, do you need anything? Dear, great question. Do you need things, items? Amount, wagon?
No, I
Money?
don't need any of that stuff.
Okay. Do your friends?
I wouldn't offer them anything. Trust me.
Especially the book one. He's a criminal. Okay. Well, if there's anything you need, our caravan is yours to use. I have contacts with the Jund guard caravan unit, and they'll help too. And I know that the young man that you were friends with, he seems to be friends with Captain Jun. So
From what I understand, I think he worked for her for some time.
oh, what a small world. Okay. Okay. I was in the middle of reports and balance sheets. I will leave if anything happens. And he like abruptly stands, and the chair like teeters back, and he quickly.
One last thing, because I'm going to bed after this.
He's standing behind your sister, and he like puts his hands above his head, and he does
I
this.
advise you to keep a close eye on Amy. I just got a gut feeling something's gonna go wrong.
Are you? Are you trying to allude to some godly business to Fernand?
No,
Okay. Cool.
I'm not trying to spill the beans. I'm just being a concerned uncle.
Yeah, not suspicious at all.
No, it's very suspicious.
Yeah.
Here.
He looks to you and his eyes go wide, and he had his hands above his head and he was pointing to an invisible nothing above his head as you started talking. And his eyes, he gets like a little bit crestfallen, like a little concerned, and you see him like point one more time and then point at your sister. And then he says, I have work to do. And he gives her like a peck on the head.
At the point at his, he doesn't do anything with the point as if referring to him, but as his sister, he just shakes his head ever so slightly.
He gives her a peck on the top of the head, and you see him retreat up the stairs.
Like shakes his head no, ever so slightly for his sister.
I am still very confused as to why you. What did you? Who are these? You have friends?
I wouldn't call them friends, more like just traveling companions.
And all of you were summoned by the Queen.
It seems so.
Are they from here?
From what I gather, no.
How did the Queen know who all of you are?
One of the people in our caravan apparently had a connection.
Her eyes narrow. And she says, if I find out, Seydlitz, that you are lying to me, I will burn all of your food.
It's not really much of a threat since I can just hunt for more.
All of it. I'll find it and burn it. And you can eat burnt food for every meal. And
I can always just ask Mother.
I'll tell Mother.
Speaking of, how is she? I haven't seen her yet.
She is at the shop. She has refused to take on help other than myself, and she is working on, strangely enough, an order from the castle.
Refused to take on help. Maybe, I believe one of my traveling companions, Mina, I think his name. He knows how to make clothes and mend clothes too. Maybe I could introduce them. Maybe he could help her out.
Perhaps. She is. Let's just say you are becoming more and more like her in your age.
Wow, that's rude.
It only gets worse.
You don't have to tell me twice. You and me both know.
Well, at least we know what we have to look forward to with you.
I hope not. By the divine, I hope not.
What?
Seydlitz gets up and starts walking out to his room.
What did you just say?
He ignores her.
I'm talking. I am talking to you. The children are asleep. I will burn the next.
And he's gone.
Son of a bitch. There are whisper shouted taunts as you exit the room and head to your own quarters. And Terry's, we cut over to you as you leave a somewhat tense, somewhat helpful discussion with Dreshen. Where do you
Tense?
go?
Not tense.
Okay. Where do you... Somebody in that room was tense. where do you go as this conversation ends?
Yeah, he leaves first, and she kind of sits there for a minute, and then after a while, she gets back up and wanders back into the main room of the temple. And you said like there's no one around.
Yes, correct.
Okay. I think she will go back outside.
Okay.
And she pulls up her hood to cover her eyes and or shade her eyes, sorry. And she contemplates what Dresden said to her about exploring the city a little bit. And eventually she just meanders off, and she's gonna go into the city and take a look around.
Okay. Much like when Mina left, you hear that cacophony of sound coming from the eastern side. As you walk out here, it is much like the previous night when you arrived. As the sun is setting, there is a procession down Avos Road. It is people dancing, and there are banners spinning, and there's a sound and music and revelry and joviality, and this is a level of positivity of which you are not accustomed to. It is just as foreign as seeing the sun was. As you see the sun is setting, which is, again, a thing you've only now seen twice. As you see the sun begin to dip, you see this procession marching down the street. There are people, there are carts, there are people coming and lining the road, there are cheering, there are people throwing, confetti, essentially, like little fragments of things, and there's celebration. You see that there are children with, makeshift, modeled instruments that are, boop, 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 tooting horns and making sounds and just cheering and whooping as this procession sort of goes by. Every once in a while, someone will just come from the crowd and just sort of dance into it and march a few paces and then fold back out of it. You see this strange ritual. And you see that that Avos Road is littered with stalls and carts. It seems as though most people have moved their wares towards this way, if they are mobile at all, to be close to the revelry. What are you doing as you see this transpire?
Yeah, I think she might hang back a little bit, especially at first when she sees it, and she pulls her cloak up to shield her face. And a quick observation of the people around her. Are other people armed? Because she has her sword on her. So
I mean, there are reconciliators scattered throughout the city. There are also some Aura guard scattered throughout the city. And you can see, if you're being extra inquisitive, that every once in a while there are people that have a blade or a knife or a dagger or something like that. But no one's kitted out to go start a war, essentially.
Yeah, how you would see adventurers walking through a city type of thing. Okay, she just wants to make sure that she's not going to be singled out because she's got a sword on her hip or anything weird like that.
Mm-hmm.
And she's gonna. And does she see reconciliators moving about?
You see probably about 30 or 40 paces from you, there is just one positioned near a building.
Okay, I thought you could say she sees 30 to 40.
No.
Fuck me, I'm going back to the temple.
From what you understand, the queen is very from what Sia had told you, it's not uncommon for a contingent of reconciliators to come here. The amount she saw was massive, and the queen would never allow that amount.
Okay.
The queen does allow a certain number of people to keep the dragon happy. And in her place.
For sure. Okay, so one more observational thing. Does she see wanted posters of herself around?
You do not.
Okay, good. Okay, so she's going to note the location of the reconciliators who are posted around, and she's just gonna cautiously move through the throng of people, and she's going to visibly, not visibly, she's gonna like think about it, and she's gonna lift her hand off the pommel of her sword where she usually rests it, and she's gonna put it at her side and walk like a normal person.
Roll to walk like a normal person. No.
Are you serious?
No, no.
I roll a 1.
GM
Terry's is unplaying in
intrusion.
that as well.
Yeah,
GM, yeah.
She
You
can
have-
only she's only can walk in silly walks via the
You-
ministry.
You have an inability to walk like a normal person. You can only stalk like a predator. Yeah, so you sort of it's like when you're told to relax, where you kind of like you do all the motions that equal relaxing. Like you go from being stiff, like from being very straight back, you kind of like add a little bit of hunch. Your hand moves off the blade. You sort of like let out whatever muscles were tensed, and it's very forced. But you take this first Bambi step forward into being relaxed. As you step towards the crowds of revelers, no one really notices you, which is not uncommon for you. Being undetected is kind of, was your bread and butter for a while, passing unnoticed. But what strikes you as possibly uncomfortable is that no one's afraid of you. No one's revelry stops in the presence of you. No one cares. No one cares that you're there. It's a strange sensation of, one, not having to be invisible, and two, not being a noticeable figure, right? Like people see you and smile and keep on keeping on. No one looks at you and then looks back at somebody else for confirmation. No one looks at you and has fear in their eyes. No one really gives a shit about Antares' presence, which is not common for you. When you were visible in places, usually people knew what was up.
If she wasn't like stalking around,
Yeah.
she was purposely visible.
Yeah, and when when in the past, when you have been purposely visible, it was to strike fear, and it was to send a message, and you're not. Whether that is because you are relaxed or because no one knows who you are, but this sense of like unease almost settles into you. Like this is new. This is as new as the parade, as new as seeing the sun. This feeling of no one's afraid of you here because no one knows who you are. This sense of like open-endedness that you truly have the ability to reinvent who Antares is sort of starts to dawn on you, where you're a known name in a place you left. And now where you are, no one knows who you are, so you can be anything. You can be anyone. And people dance around you as a plume of confetti goes up and falls. You have chunks of this like fabric and paper in your hair. You see like kids running around. One of them smashes into your leg, bumps to the side. Another kid looks, laughs at you, picks him up. The smaller one that was trailing behind sort of tucks beneath your legs, and they all three of them run past you. You see one of them like nick an apple off a cart and keep running.
Thief. No,
Yeah, right. You are, for all intents and purposes in this moment, a regular civilian in the city of Samora.
Yeah, and part of the one thing that's causing unease is that because no one is paying attention to her, now her sword hand is twitching because now she can't trust if someone is going to come for her, like and try and like sneak attack her, you
Mhm.
know, because that's why she always has her hand on her sword since coming into the company of the others. Is she was expecting some kind of retaliation at some point, so she was always ready to defend herself. So she's trying to relax and not be scary Antares, like Dresden said. but now she feels it's like this vulnerability now that she feels like she's literally like, here I am, even though no one's noticing her. It's a very weird feeling for her, I think.
Yeah, it absolutely,
And then-
it absolutely is a very strange feeling. This continues. The procession it's not a very long procession. It's a single road that treks through the entire city. Starts shortly before sundown and ends shortly after sundown. You hear snatches of phrases, not quite prayers, but like, things people are saying. This, as far as you can tell, this ceremony happens every night. This procession happens every night, and it happens every night and every morning. And this is,
How do they
again,
afford this?
very strange. Well, as you maybe ponder that, you look around, and the procession itself is not very expensive. It is people with instruments singing and dancing and twirling ribbons and banners down the street. Anyone can join in. You just do whatever you do. There is a formal procession of what looks. What context does Antares have for this? It looks almost like your context for this would be in your mother's court. You have like sycophant or hierophants. I guess they'd be sycophantic as well. But they are robed, and they have like ornate masks or headdresses on that seem to be like almost like a sun, but with like one half is gold and the other half is like reds and purples, and it symbolizes the line between the Nightlands and the RuneScape. And this ceremony, this procession, is to thank the sun for its bounty. In the morning, it is to thank thank the sun for rising again.
She's probably heard about this.
Yeah, this is the closest to a godly ritual you've ever seen, other than like Korax kneeling at a church. They are almost praying to the sun. Thank you for rising, and thank you for not crashing into us all day long. It adds that layer of strange connotation, especially coming from where you are, where like someone doing this would be executed. Like in Corso, if you were like, oh, thank the sun, you'd be like, oh well, someone's gonna give you a murder. So it's a strange. It adds to the alienness of the scene. But the procession moves past you. The hierophants move past you. The singers and dancers all kind of move past you. And you see that as the procession leaves and the crowd sort of disperses, a lot of the cart wielders sort of move back to wherever it is they go, either a warehouse, their home. And you see that as this procession leads on, everything sort of ripples out like a wave from it as people return to their afternoons for dinner or the end of their work shift, what have you.
Are there any clothing carts around? Like,
sure.
Yeah.
There's like a stall that has like a rack of clothes on wheels.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the style of Samara is, but all she has is her makeshift clothing that she took off the slavers.
Yeah.
So
would you like to purchase clothing
Actually, no,
befitting of the city?
She did take some of her clothes from her safe chest in
Mhm.
Old Nemero, but that's old and Terry's. So yeah, she's gonna try and purchase some clothes, though she doesn't have any idea how much it's gonna cost.
Yeah. Let's see here.
I only have 20 moons, so
Oh, that's more than enough. You're fine. Yeah. So at the cost of 5 moons, describe to me what your new outfit looks like.
oh shit, outfit of the day. Oh Lord,
You did this to yourself.
I did do it. So, it's probably.
Listen, I gave you personality advice last episode. I can't give you fashion advice. I do one or the other.
That was Stephanie's job. Yeah, I don't really know what like style it's gonna be. It's gonna be very like practical, nothing frou-frou, nothing too fancy.
Mhm.
And It's gonna be in like shades of blue, maybe some like gold thrown in there if that's something that's available.
Yeah.
And she's probably got like a half cape, it's like off one shoulder
Mm-hmm.
and it hangs down, and it doesn't quite look like, it's not like armor or anything like that, but it's like a leather vest with like a shirt underneath and pants type of style and some tall boots.
Okay. So I see you as like a feminine version of Ezio from Assassin's Creed 2, right? You have like the tunic, like some kind of like belt situation, the shoulder cape that just comes down on one side. Yeah. So it's not quite armor, but it could function in combat. Okay, and colored, bright colors, so blues and golds, and okay. A big enough departure from what we've seen thus far, but still functional.
Like she was like in her wanted poster and anything like that, it was all like reds, and so now it's blues.
Okay, I dig that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we see you,
And like a new cloak. She would get rid of that old cloak, and
Yes.
she would have something. And she would probably actually, by the end of it, her face would be more exposed. Like it would probably still be up, but it's one of those hoods that sits back.
Gotcha. So yeah, we see you in this shopping montage as you hand over your moons and you acquire a new outfit, which like a child on a shopping spree, you wear out. You've changed clothes and you wear it out of the store, essentially.
Yeah.
Where do you return to? Where do you go from here? The sun has set. There's a little bit of a level of comfortability as you are plunged into a familiar darkness. But where do you go from here?
At this point, if the sun is just setting, she's not actually going to go back anywhere. She's going to see if she can get to a roof.
A roof? Okay.
Yeah.
Are you trying to do this secretively?
If she has to, like, if there's no obvious stairs going up anywhere, like if she physically has to climb, I guess she'll try to do it stealthily, but
Okay. Roll me stealth just so I can see what happens here.
okay. Difficulty.
Difficulty is going to be 2.
If I roll a 1, I quit. 17.
Okay, great. Yeah, you easily find and ascend some stairs. No one is looking at you. There are no guards around to tell you that may or may not be legal or trespassing. And you head up to a 3rd-story building that has a small ivy-covered overlook. And you can see the city. As you look out, the walls are actually higher than where you are, but you still have a fairly good all I can think of is like Aladdin, like an Agrabah-esque overlook. You can see the city stretch out before you. You see that there are, you can see Vishaden's temple. You see several other temples. You see the Adherence temple. You see that where the castle is, various size, squared, circled, octagonal buildings scattered around. And you can see there's a large line of demarcation where Avos Road is, which like basically goes from one end of the city, a straight line across the other end of the city. And in the daylight, since you walked around it, you can see that one half of the city is under the gaze of the moon. That line, that road, is the exact line.
Right.
So literally on one side of that line is darkness, on the other side of that line is the sun.
Okay. Yeah, I forgot about that part. Okay. Okay, so now that she's on the roof, she's like, she'll gaze around the city, take note of where the Adherence temple is, so she knows how to get back, and then she's actually gonna look up and look at the stars.
Yeah. It is, again, strange, because you see that on one side of you is that darkness blotted out by the moon, essentially, by Nod. And then you can see the runescape, the stars over the runescape. It looks very different. The stars over the moonscape is dark, right? Like the night, but there's like hints of blue, and like different like different levels of darkness, if that makes sense, and you can actually see the stars, and they're twinkling in white blue light, whereas everything sort of has this sickening red tint to it in the Nightlands. So you can see that same difference in the sky as you watch, and a little comet goes by.
I think she's gonna find a spot to sit, and
Mhm.
she's just gonna look up at the stars for a while, and she's gonna stay there for a while.
Okay. As you stare at the stars, the camera sort of does that shift and tilt and twist, and we end up in the near the mercantile district, outside of the headquarters of Wexy June's guard caravan. And Mina stands outside the door. Mina, what are you doing?
Mina will look to see if anyone seems to be present, particularly in the office where he knows Wexy hangs out.
Yeah, as you open the door, you see that there are a handful of female guards just about in various levels of armor. Like some have like hung up any breastplate or leathers. It seems as though everyone is off hours, and it has a slightly more militaristic feel, but it has the similar feel to Sia's Tavern, to Sia's Roadhouse, where everyone is a little bit more comfortable. There's a few drinks in hand, and everyone's sort of hanging about.
Mina just nods, kind of greets anyone he knows, and just says, "Is the captain about?"
Yeah, she's in the back room, tallying up everything from Fernand's caravan.
Thanks. And Mina will turn and head towards the door and just knock at the door.
Enter.
Mina opens the door and quickly shuts it behind him. Says, Captain Jun, and he stands at attention.
Mina, you don't work for me. And she sort of waves at your like tense positioning.
Yeah, I know. Old habits.
Sit.
I was. Yeah, Mina will quickly sit down. Hi, how are you?
I'm fine.
I've finished what I was doing at the at Adherence Temple. I was wondering if I could bunk here.
She gets out of her chair with like a leather squeak, moves to a side table, and you hear like the pouring of water. And she returns to her desk and puts the water in front of you and sits back down. She says, "Drink."
Mina picks up the drink and takes way too big a gulp, but swallows it, and he goes, "Oh, thank you. It's been a long day."
What are you doing here?
I was looking for somewhere to bunk. I'm finished what the adherents wanted me to do. I didn't want to stay there. They're a bit creepy.
They are strange. Good customers, but they are. Um, why here?
Didn't really know anyone else in the city, and I trust you and the people that work for you.
Okay. Okay. We have the barracks hall is still available if you need it.
Yeah, that's
you
perfect.
you wouldn't be alone. Anyone else who needs housing is here.
Oh no, that's more than generous. I'm used to bunking with people.
What about your friends?
I guess they're staying at the temple. Stephanie and Arua are moving on to the castle. Seydlitz lives here, so he's going home.
What is happening, Mina?
Nothing's happening. Just the adherents kind of all stuffy and rulesy, and then there was the meeting with. Then the Queen showed up, and we had to do something for her, and they just seem to treat everyone like pawns, and I just wanted to go and be where I could just be a person.
Are you working for the Queen?
I haven't signed a contract, but I think she's expecting us to help defend the city when the armies get here.
Isn't that what you wanted? Didn't you want to meet with the Queen?
Until I met her, she I don't know. I expected her to be a lot less bossy, and I don't know what I expected really, but
Mina, she's the Queen. She's literally the boss.
but she took over from Joseph, that was mean and stuff to people, and she took over and people were happier. So I thought she was less bossy.
Well, he was a mean boss, and she's a nice boss, but they're still bosses.
Yeah, but I mean, you're a boss and you treat the people that work for you really well. You don't treat them like pawns or, chess pieces.
Our job is very simple. It's start here, go here, and she like drags her finger across the desk, and make sure no one dies in between. There's no power struggle. There's no secret machinations. We are the pawns.
But we know we're here to protect the people we're trying to protect. And we know they're people. We don't try to, trick people or have to convince people to do things. It's just everyone's pulling together for the same goal, which is to protect people.
And what are you doing for the Queen?
We had to go and find out what that Shaden guy wanted to help convince him to defend the city. We've done that, so I don't have any further orders from anyone at the moment.
Is the city in danger?
Yeah, there's army marching from Corso and another one from Christreach.
Huh. Are you helping with that?
I guess so.
She reaches down and you hear her open up like a small chest. And there's like a clinking of glass as she produces another cup and a dark frosted green bottle. And she takes the cork out and bloop, 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 bloop. There's a few fingers of this like bright green liquid in hers and about a finger less in yours as she and puts it back down. Well, things get interesting. I understand why the Queen would seek you out, given what you told me. I can only assume that Shaden has something to do with that. Queen is always sending, or the dragon is always sending people, the Empress, here. I know what we heard at Sia's. Crysearch is a new one.
Yeah, but they seem convinced that they're marching on the city to take it over or take it back.
Well, she flips open a book, and you see her like dot her pen and slide it across the page, crossing out something. You've seen this book before. You know this is a work ledger. And she crosses out what you can infer to be her next job, and then closes the book, puts the pen back in its like inkwell, and slides it over. Says, "Well, we can't let that happen."
Maynard looks at the book and then looks back at Wexy. Maybe you should take that job. It might be safer.
Safer than defending my city.
For you and your company.
Mina, I know you mean well, but our business is in the business of protecting people that otherwise cannot protect themselves. So tomorrow, I will speak to the other guard captains, and I can almost guarantee you that a good majority of us will walk up the stairs to the castle and on bended knee pledge our blades to the cause. The city is filled with people who cannot otherwise protect themselves. And I will be damned if I turn tail and leave them to it. If the Wexijun caravan can hold off enough reconciliators or whatever the hell abominations Crysearch is going to send towards us for even another 5 minutes to allow people to escape the city, then every life lost is worth a second gained. So no, I will not take that job.
Mina tries really badly to hide a smile and then goes, "Good. Then I'm working for you then, not the Queen."
Well, we'll see how that works out, but you're always welcome here.
And he reaches forward for the liquor and takes a swig and winces because he wasn't expecting it to be nearly as strong as it was.
Yeah, it is not the same liquor you had when Antarius was feeding you booze. It is definitely taste of black licorice and fire. Well-
Well, like a fireball.
Yeah. Well, I need to close the books. And I think you need to get some rest.
And Mina stands up, goes to stand at attention and stops himself awkwardly, but then does it anyway and says goodnight and turns and leaves.
Mina, this was not that drink. And you hear like the clinking of glasses as she like removes them from her desk. You're dismissed.
And he just nods and turns and leaves.
Mina scurries off towards the employee barracks at the June Caravan Guard headquarters. And we cut back to Corex, who is now plunged in darkness under the roofless temple to which he has knelt in prayer. Night has fallen, Corax. You are alone. The city has still a din of noise, but far quieter than it is during the day. What are you doing? And where are you going?
So Korax, after his time there praying, having his thoughts, he finally stands up, places a hand on the altar, and says a final prayer. Just a final goodbye to the old gods, his last prayer to the old gods, and he just walks out. And he heads off looking for the Queen's library. There's no time like the present.
Interesting. You head down the main road towards the Queen's Palace. You pass by a number of parks, namely the Fountain Park, which is right next to the Temple District. Large gardenscape, what do you call it? Like sculpted bushes and the like. It's a very beautiful area. There's a large fountain, clear water runs. You head past all of that, and you enter into the grounds of the palace. Now you've been here before. You've also been to Corso, and you've seen the ostentatious palace that Nemeroth has. This tower into the sky. This is comparatively squat and simple. It is one of the highest buildings in the city, but only by maybe a floor, maybe a single story higher. You head through the grounds and towards the grand staircase that leads up into the castle, where two guards flank the stairs, each with a spear in hand and a shield on their back. The guards, you can feel their eyes, but you can't see them in the darkness, as they are silhouetted by these like purple-blue lanterns behind them. You can feel their eyes on you as you walk up, but no one stops you. You make your way up the carpeted stairs and into like the grand hall of this castle, where you see that there are several more guards sort of flanking the entrance. And as you step up to the entryway, you hear like a thud and a click, essentially, of them snapping to attention and thunking the haft of their spears on the ground, as if you are receiving some sort of royal ordinance or some sort of royal attendance here. It's a little bit of strange feeling for a backwater kid who steals things.
Korax never steals anything. He never looks at any of the gods.
Mhm.
As he's walking up, his face is directly forward. As the guards look at him, he never looks at them. He hears the noises, but never turns to look at any of them.
None of the guards stop you. You do see that there are guards stationed outside of basically every room in this place. Every time you see a door, there is a guard. Sometimes two. There is another staircase that leads up and out to like a balcony. You would assume is somewhere where the Queen's chambers may be. That place is far more heavily guarded. On those set of stairs, there's like every like 3 stairs is a guard, and they look like they are more heavily armored and more heavily armed than the other like standard castletory guards. No one stops you. No one approaches you. No one speaks to you. You sort of have run of the castle as you meander about, not really knowing where the library is. Are you asking anyone, or are you just sort of wandering until you find it?
He would wander a bit and then look for someone that is not a god.
Mm.
So a kitchen worker, just someone who's working and not there to protect the place.
Sure. Yeah, you take a few minutes to kind of wander around, and you see a scullery maid. She comes over, and there is a large like almost like a backpack, except it is like a large barrel almost on her back. And she like doesn't quite. It's not that kind of royalty where she like averts her gaze, but she is a little hunched over because of this large, what you can assume to be a heavy barrel or basket on her back, as she moves past you towards a hallway. And she sort of like nods to you and continues past without saying a word unless you stop her.
As she walks past, she says, "Sorry, I know you're busy, but can you point me in the direction of the library?"
Oh,
just the direction.
She like grabs the straps and sort of straightens up, and you can hear like a little slosh as she does so. Whatever's on her back is full of some kind of liquid and something that can slosh around in it. She looks to you and she says, "Yeah, it behind the stairs. There's a hallway lined with paintings. It's at the end of that, it's below the throne room."
He does like a half bow, thank you. And
Good
he just
luck.
walks in that direction.
And she like adjusts this thing, kind of tips back over and heads down this hallway. You proceed down the hall of paintings. You see that there is almost a defiant painting. It is of Jacinth and is defaced. But it is left in its frame, defaced, as if to give a giant middle finger to the previous royalty in this place. Other paintings include previous royalty as well as scenes of what you can assume to be the land before before it became the Afterworld, before the fall of Elanehtar. There's mostly landscapes, but you see like the floating mountainous isles. You see like the krakens depicted. You see the forests of the Verge, the Cerulean Peaks, the Mouth of Winter. These various like huge natural works of wonder depicted here in artistic rendering. As you proceed down this hall towards a very familiar scent of books, you enter into the library, and you see that while the scullery maid had mentioned it was below the throne room, perhaps below was a bit of a misnomer. As you walk into the room, and you see that there is a bit of balcony that sort of hangs over the edge, that is like stone and like a your standard wall, but a large portion is a semi-domed ceiling, and above you can see starlight, just sort of twinkling down. And on the edge of these racks of books, there is those same purple-blue lanterns, like ensconced on the edges of them, and that appears to be the only light in here. But you are in the library.
He stops in the doorway. This is a place that holds information that he would never have dreamt of ever being able to gain access to. Even in Corso, where he thought there was loads of information, there was nothing. Nothing available to, like I said, little farmer boy, peasant boy from the middle of nowhere. He begins to walk down through the aisles where the books are, and he's looking for anything on godhood or divinity, things that are not necessarily like religious texts, but information. That is what he's after. Yeah, that's what he's just wandering those bookshelves looking for anything that sort of jumps out at him, stands out that could be useful to him.
Okay. Roll me an intellect. If you have anything that is for searching. I don't know that you do. No, scan tells you like that's like your Dragon Ball Z scanner. I don't think anything would help you. Yeah, I don't think anything would help you find this. So this is going to be an intelligence. You're looking for things on divinity and like the concept of godhood?
Yes.
Okay. It's going to be a difficulty 4.
Difficulty 4. Sure. So it's effort. Yes. I'm going to use 2 effort on that. Submit. No assets. Success.
Okay. Yeah, you traverse through this. There's no card catalog. There's no like this is the poli-sci section. You just sort of have to amble through the troves of books here as you try to figure out what section you're in. A lot of the books have no like names on the spines. A lot of the books just have like ornate spines or like a color code. You kind of have to open a few of these books and like take them down and sort through. But you find a small stack. You find some old books that like speak of rituals to the old gods and the time before, and like historical books about like the acts of certain gods and what they had done, and things about like basically history. There's less myth because we knew the gods were real. You do find several books, thick usually, ornately bound with no words on the spines that talk about like the idea of godhood, the concept of godhood. There's certain books that have an entire section based on stories or myths or histories, perhaps, of people who rose to godhood, as if godhood wasn't something you were born into and something you could achieve by heroic deed. But you find a small stack of 5 books that you think might suit your query, essentially. You find these books and you can make your way over to a small table, and on that table is it looks like a tube, essentially, like an ornate tube, that is another one of these lanterns. And as soon as you place the books down, it like flickers to life.
Yeah, Korax is going to start just filing his way through the books, trying to understand what he can discern from this. Is there something that he can use to help improve himself, to help the others, just to be better prepared for what is coming?
Interesting. Yeah. You begin to pore over these tomes. You have them sort of opened and scattered across the desk. Pages flip back and forth. You kind of have like, head in hand as you flip one page on another book and glance over there, flip another page on another book. Wiggle your fingers, a little glimmer of something flips a page for you. And you hear a noise. You hear like not quite like the clinking of glass, but you hear this very distinct, like almost crunching of glass or grinding of glass. The sound of glass breaking. It seems to be coming from above you.
Korax stops and just looks straight up.
The sky is gone. There is no stars. You can hear that crackling of glass above you, but you can no longer see that like opaque blue-black sky with the twinkling stars in it. You see darkness, but it seems to be shifting, moving darkness. Like a strange amorphous cloud is sitting on top of this. And then you hear that like crunch and that crackle of like a spider web breaking. And you hear it again. And you hear it again. And now you can see that there are cracks along this like glass solarium. And a single piece falls. And you see this like glittering stone falling as it tink, 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 boom, and falls off the desk.
Whilst looking up, he stops, looks back down, grabs it with his foot, just stands on it and pulls it towards himself. Looks back up and leans down and grabs that piece of glass and just checks it over in his hand.
There is probably about a 4 by 3 inch piece of glass that is crystal clear in your hand, jagged, shattered, seems to have fallen from the sky or from the ceiling.
And it feels like normal glass?
Feels like normal glass.
he would pick up the books that he has, closes them up, and pulls them to his chest and just starts backing away to get to a point where if there is something that falls down, it's not going to land on him or his books.
Every move you make, every step you take, closing each book, a shatter, a piece falls. Another book closes, a shatter. Book stacks, shatter. You back up the chair, shatter, shatter, shatter. You stand, shatter, shatter, shatter. More of these chunks of glass are falling. You're not hearing them shatter on the ground. You hear the cracks of glass breaking. You can hear them shift out of place and fall. But you don't hear them hit the ground and splinter into 1,000 more pieces. As you stand there, sort of backing away, maybe towards the rows and rows of books, you hear this become more frequently. With every step you take, another dozen more shatter and fall. And you see them glinting. And then you hear another sound that breaks this silence. You hear a flutter of wings, but not the simple flutter of like something taking flight. You hear the flutter of like a murmuration. You hear 1,000 sets of wings take flight. It drowns out the sound of crackling. It drowns out the sound of these glass chunks shattering and shifting and falling. And all at once, this black amorphous cloud that was once sitting on top of this glass solarium is now moving and spinning and folding back on itself and creating these strange non-Euclidean shapes you've never seen before as it sort of flows and moves like liquid. And you can see pinpricks of light as it moves, and you can see the sky again. And you can see, through this starlight, the reason why none of the shards of glass exploded on the floor. Because now in the starlight, they are all hung around you, all over the library. About 5 feet off the ground, 6 feet, 7 feet, they are just suspended in motion, slowly turning and rotating and moving, but not sinking any lower. And as you look at these, you can see the flicker of the purple-blue sconces sort of reflecting in them. You can see the starlight and this murmuration of birds reflecting in them. And at first it just feels like a reflection of everything you're seeing. But then as you look closer at some of these shards, it's not a reflection. There's shadows and light moving on all of these, but they're all different. You're seeing something play out differently on each one of these. You're seeing stories, myths, legends, lore, history, sciences, tales, everything playing out on all these various shards of glass suspended in time. What do you do, Corax?
Corax places the books that he had picked up, or that he had clung to his chest, down on the ground. Has a look at the piece of glass in his hand. Is it looks just like glass again, or is it also showing reflections?
It is also showing reflections.
He then starts to just walk around. He walks up to each shard of glass that's hovering in the air and just starts to watch them as they play through around him. He just walks around in silence, looking at each one.
As you walk by each one, and as you spend more than a second looking at each one, they change from this crystal clear, crystal basically, to this translucent blue something, glass still, but it becomes translucent and blue and almost glows. And as you sort of walk by, maybe one bumps your shoulder and it sort of spins out of place a little bit, never falling, but still moving, blue, hits another one, tink, blue. All of these begin to spiderweb out from where you are, wherever you walk, anytime you touch one, anytime you look at one, it shifts and changes in blue, and the image almost sharpens, as if you're seeing more of what this is revealing. And as you make your way through this cloud of glass, you're not sure how or why you know this, but you feel it from somewhere deep within you. That if you were to count every single shard of glass, there would be the same number of books on the shelves in this library. And that you're not just seeing random images, you're seeing the stories play out in all of these books. And as you contemplate what the hell is happening and what that could possibly mean, you see all of the images on these things sort of play out and fade. And the image becomes the same one on every single one of these. And you realize, as you stand here in the library, that your nimbus is showing. It is the brightest it's ever been.
I think Korak stops in the center as all these things have split out apart from him, knowing that he knows that his nimbus is showing, right?
Mm-hmm.
He drops to his knees and begins to pray, not to the old gods. He begins to almost pray to himself, as a way of accepting that he is finally understanding his purpose, his goal. His only way of speaking to things that he couldn't see was prayer. And that is what he does. He just sits there and prays on his knees in the center of the library.
As you kneel down in the library to issue this prayer of thanks, understanding, acceptance to ultimately yourself and the universe as a whole, when you arise and your eyes open, the library is as it was. There is no murmuration of ravens. There is no shattered solarium. You are standing in the library as it was when you entered. There are 5 books scattered around you where you had dropped them. Nothing has changed. What you saw did not actually occur, at least as far as you can tell, or at least as far as anyone can prove. But the camera cuts away from Korax. Through darkness, under a starless sky, and into the city of Corso, where we see a woman pacing atop the largest tower you've ever seen. Several white tigers pace along with her, as if bound by some invisible leash, turning on their heels, marching across the other side of the room, marching back. A young man sits draped across a chair, very elegantly, poised as if being painted. A woman stands behind him, gripping the head of this winged chair, enough to almost puncture the holes of this strange leather, this reptilian leather, gritting her teeth as she looks at the woman pacing back and forth. The woman stops, and she points to a book, a large book. It's probably 3 feet when opened, by 1.5 feet tall. And there is a line glowing gold atop of it. She turns to the two of them. And she says, "How did this happen?" The woman, gripping the chair, squeezes tightly as if possible rage and fear courses through her. And the young man slips his leg over the armchair, back over his own leg, and sort of sits upright. He says, "Well, we are still searching for them. And our sister. And if there's anything we can do about it, there won't be another one added to that book." The woman again points and says, "This is unacceptable. A new god has not been born since my reign began. And another one shall not come to pass. You find this god of knowledge, and you kill him." And that is where we end this episode of The Rise.
Don't kill him. Don't
God
kill him.
damn it!
Oh
Domain
man,
seed, domain
what's
seed.
the matter? What's the matter, G?
God damn it! I
You
wanna know more.
you panicking over here for some reason?
No, I'm not panicking at all. I
Mm-hmm.
want more.
We now welcome our first official god of the Afterworld. Korax, the god of knowledge, has accepted his godhood and has claimed his domain of knowledge. Exciting. I'm excited to see everyone else's scene. I told the players in the after show that they would be coming soon, as soon as I could find them a place to fit in. And you know, Chris, you walked me right into it. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see what happens for everyone else's. I feel like everyone is super close to theirs. But that's it for us, guys. We're going to do our outros. We're going to do our after show, which you can get available on our Patreon. A link for that in the description down below. Join us over at the $5 tier. You will not regret it. You get all kinds of behind-the-scenes looks at all of our shows, including this one here. And it supports the channel, helps us hire people, get some art done for other projects and all kinds of other cool stuff. But for now, let's do these outros so we can get out of here and talk about the brand new God of Knowledge. So we'll start with this new god himself. Chris, who are you? Where can we find you on the internet? And what are you up to?
Hi, I'm Chris, aka Necro. You can find me in the Discord and on the Patreon one-shots and campaign. That is it. Nowhere else. The internet is scary.
It's true. It's a dark place. Norm, who are you? Where can we find you on the internet? And what are you up to?
I'm Normal Snow. You can find me Discord and this campaign and Patreon one-shots.
Hell yeah. Hell freaking yeah. Matt, same questions. Who are you? Where can we find you? What are you up to?
I'm Matter D, and you can find me here in the Patreon one shots, Mike's Discord, or if by random happenstance, you might find me on the road somewhere all across the United States.
Hell yeah. And last but not least, G, who are you? Where can we find you? And what are you up to?
I'm G, your friendly neighborhood lightning invoker. You'll find me in the Discord, on Twitter at lightningspaz09, modding during the week here, and for the Patreon one-shots and the campaign.
Awesome. You will note that Broshaden did not make an appearance this episode. Don't you worry. I have big plans for him next episode. Based on this, he'll be making a comeback. The second corruption bar was Wexy. Was Wexy denying leaving and pledging her sword for the queen. So yeah, that'll be that changed a few things. So that'll be interesting to see how that works out. But that's it for us. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Go sign up on Patreon, get this after show, and that's it from all of us, guys. We'll see you next week for more. Next month for more of this stuff. So from all of us to you, bye bye.
Hashtag Binksy!
God damn it.
Really?